Hi, I'm Faith McCann, and I've been a witch for over 40 years. And no, we are not evil. Learn more about the magical world and how the magical world affects your world right here on The Magical Alternative. And you don't have to be a witch to watch. Hello, magical ones, and welcome to The Magical Alternative. I'm your host, Faith McCann. Hello, crew. And this month, our musical guest is Dean Boltz. So welcome, and I'm glad to have you here. I want to say a big hello to our newest addition to our public access TV family. In addition to our home here at Community Voice Channel in Bolton, Connecticut, which serves the towns of Andover, Bolton, Ellington, Hebron, Marlborough, Tolland, and Vernon. Well, our show has been picked up by the Cox Manchester Public Access TV channel. We're now saying hello to the towns of Manchester, Glastonbury, Newington, Rocky Hill, South Windsor, and Wethersfield. So hello, everybody. So glad to have you here, and I hope you enjoy this. Well, 28 public access stations in Connecticut, TV stations in Connecticut, 2 down, 26 to go. So for those who are new to our show, this is our 3rd year, and we're like a late-night magical late-night show. And it's a TV show by magical people about magical, interesting, informative, and fun things. And we're year-round, not only in October. What? We have an awesome band every month, November Sound, who's not with us tonight, but when they can't be with us, we have amazing musical guest stars, such as tonight, the wonderful Dean Boltz. So give him a hand. And Dean, I wanted to ask you, this is going to be coming out in May, so what's happening on your musical schedule?
Yeah, I've been writing songs for a long time, and finally decided I wanted to get some recorded and try to get a CD out. So
nice.
I've gone into the studio. It's called the Tiny Bunker down in Hamden, and we've got 3 songs ready to put out, and then we'll start working on more. Hopefully, probably won't be coming out in May. These songs will probably go up on Spotify by then. But
okay. Now, is the CD called The Tiny Bunker?
The CD,
that's the place you're recording
the
it.
Tiny Bunker is where I'm recording.
Okay, so what's
and the CD will get one of 2 names. Acoustic Horizons is what I had always thought it would be.
I like that.
But I've written a song called "My Death Is in the Past," and that one might be a better album because it might get people's attention.
It just might, yeah. That might get a lot of clicks. So
Yep.
Very cool. And this is going to be a CD of 3 songs.
It'll be a CD, probably 12 songs when I'm done. I've got about 100 songs written.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing. So
I've got plenty of songs to work from. So the question is which ones myself and the producer decide are going to be the right ones for it.
That's exciting. Oh, wow. Well, thank you for being here. And we look forward to having you again. Thank you, everyone. Give me a hand.
Very much.
All right. And our guests are, again, tonight, our favorite Doctor and Rabbi team, Dr. Jeremy Weiss and Rabbi David McLashley of the Temple of Miriam the Prophetess. And this month of May, we celebrate the ancient Celtic holiday of Beltane. We're going to be discussing the magic of trees and the magic of food. But before we get started, I'm going to do my monologue. And we're going to discuss Punch the Monkey. As somebody mentioned earlier, that'd be a great name for a band. But if you have not heard of Punch the Monkey, let me introduce him to you. Punch the Monkey is a macaque monkey in Ichikawa City Zoo, Japan, and he has become an internet sensation. Punch was born in July of 2025 and was abandoned by his mother. Sad. Well, zoo animal behaviorists feel that between her having a very difficult birth during a sweltering heat wave, combined with the fact that she had never seen a baby raised in the entire troop of macaque monkeys in the zoo, she was the first one to give birth. And they learn by watching. So she simply didn't have the bandwidth to raise little Punch, so she ignored him. And she looked at the zookeepers like, you do something. And they were like, well, no, you do something. And that kind of, led to a standoff. So little Punch was ignored, isolated, and started to be bullied by the other monkeys of the troop. Because of this tribal animal behavior, when people found out about poor little Punch becoming an outcast, his story went viral, and Punch the monkey became an internet sensation. The zookeepers, in an attempt to give him something to hold, as baby macaques need to grip something right from birth, because their climbing ability is vital to their survival, they searched through the zoo and first gave him a rolled up towel. Punch wasn't really keen on that. He's like, no, not interested. Then they gave him other stuffed toys shaped like other animals, dogs, cats, even a giraffe. Also no interest. Finally, they found a stuffed orangutan and gave it to little Punch, who quickly took to it, and it became his surrogate mother. He was able to hold on to it, carry it around, and it mimicked the feel of a real body better than the other toys. So after several months, Punch has started to integrate into his troop. After being ignored, bullied, he finally passed the hazing rituals and is being accepted in. He's made friends, and happily an adult female has adopted him and has taken the role of his mom. Now that little Punch is being accepted, animal behaviorists say he will quickly fade into the troop and become indistinguishable from the other macaques. Okay, bring the camera closer. I want to talk to little Punch. You know, little Punch monkey, you don't want to fall for this. Every high school class has some kids who experience this situation. We're the cool kids. Bully, tease, belittle the outcasts, the misfits, the unpopular farm girls, monkeys. Don't fall for it, Punch monkey. The cool kids, trust me, after high school, they just become regular moms and dads working at the local mini mart or Pizza Bowl-orama, and on the weekends screaming at the neighborhood kids, get off my lawn. And Punch monkey, my little man, remember, you're an internet sensation, an influencer. Hold out for the marketing, the Punch merch. That's big. Punch merch is gonna be big. Get an agent. Show those other macaques there's a new monkey in town. It's Punch. Hang in there, Punch. We're not going to let you fade into obscurity. To find more on Punch, watch Zoo at Home YouTube, and you can find him in other places online. Now, a lot of people are against zoos, but unfortunately around the world, with extremely wealthy individuals facilitating the poaching of exotic species, capture, and the keeping of exotic animals as if they were toys and not living beings, wild animal sanctuaries, zoos, and game preserves, unfortunately, are the only future that will guarantee the survival of these species against the only absolute predator that threatens the balance of their existence, humanity. Well, we're going to talk about Beltane now. Beltane, thanks, Dean, that was awesome. The name we call the first day of May. Well, for us, we call it Beltane, but it has a lot of other names you might be familiar with. Ladies' Day, May Day. Floralia is Roman, when they honor the goddess of flowers. Walpurgis Night is medieval and Germanic. May Day is a traditional spring festival in Europe. Proto-Maya is Greek, and it translates to the 1st of May. Other names include Calan Mai in Wales, and the general modern reference to May 1st as May Day is distinct from the distress signal you might have heard. So, now about Beltane, if you haven't heard of it before, it is not only our first day of summer, it's the start of our 6-month summer season. So we look at a 6-month of winter, 6-month of summer. During Beltane, the ancients would construct 2 bale fires a few feet apart and drive the cattle through. This was a way to purify them from the vermin which would jump off the hides before they were slaughtered. Humans would also run through the fires for spiritual purification. The bale fires were constructed of 9 different types of wood that were supposed to be gathered by 9 separate men. One man was to collect one type of wood. The 9 woods were willow, birch, alder, hazel, hawthorn, holly, rowan, ash, and oak. There is an old poem that we will recite during our ceremonies or our services. It's called the Wiccan Rede, and part of it is woods into the Beltane fire go, burn them quick and burn them slow. Well, all of these woods have special meaning. The birch represents the goddess, new beginnings and purification. Rowan symbolizes life, protection, and magic. Ash represents the world tree, connection, and masculine energy. Alder, associated with spiritual decisions, divination, and fairy magic. Willow symbolizes healing, growth, and the nurturing power of women's mysteries. Hawthorn represents purification, fairy magic, and is used in May Day celebrations. Oak symbolizes the god, male power, and fertility. Holly, associated with protection and overcoming, sometimes used to repel lightning. And hazel represents wisdom, knowledge, and creative inspiration. Later, with Dr. Jeremy and Rabbi McLashley, we're going to be getting into a really interesting discussion talking about the magic of foods. And for Beltane, some traditional Beltane foods are dairy products: milk, cheese, yogurt, custard, and butter. Those are central, representing the peak of spring livestock productivity. Oats and grains, especially bannocks, which are Scottish oat cakes, are a traditional staple, sometimes baked over the ceremonial bonfire. Honey, used in cakes or drizzled over fruit to represent sweetness and fertility. Honey is also used to make mead. Mead is a honey wine, very ancient, very strong, and very traditional. Spring greens and herbs, especially fresh nettles, spinach, parsley, rosemary, thyme, and mint, are used to celebrate new growth. Red and yellow flowers and fruits, strawberries, cherries, rose petals, and calendula represent the vibrant colors of the season. And May wine is made out of sweet woodruff, strawberries, and white wine. The feast and the symbolism of the feast. We have fire-infused foods because Beltane is a fire festival. Hot, spicy dishes, pepper spreads, and barbecued foods are popular. Most especially pork, as swine was a sacred animal eaten by the Celts and the Druids and felt to be a spiritual food. May wine, which I said before, is a traditional drink featuring white wine, strawberries, and sweet woodruff. Flowers, edible flowers like violets and roses, are used to decorate dishes or mixed into salads, and eggs are used in dishes like quiche to represent fertility and renewal. Many of these foods are meant to be shared in a large, joyous feast, sometimes eaten outdoors to celebrate the returning warmth. I mentioned pork a little while ago. The Celts considered the pork, specifically the wild boar and sow, a sacred animal, representing war, fertility, and prosperity. Boars were seen as powerful spirit animals, embodying courage and ferocity, often appearing on armor and war horns, while the pig held mystical connections to the other world and was featured in rituals and mythology. Key aspects of the sacred pig in Celtic culture include symbol of war and protection. Boars were revered for their fighting spirit and strength, often used as protective imagery on helmets, shields, and on the top of war horns. Fertility and magic. The sow was associated with the cycles of life, death, rebirth, and the moon. And the goddess sometimes took the form of a sow. Mythological feasts. In Irish mythology, pigs often represent divine sustenance, such as the tales of Manannán mac Lir, where pigs were cooked and eaten only to be resurrected, representing magical nourishment. As a symbol of wealth, Pigs were staples in the diet of the Celts, particularly for the elite, and they appeared frequently on coins and in funeral offerings. And the champion's portion, the best part of a feast, often pork, was reserved for the bravest warriors. While the wild boar represented the ferocious warrior, both wild and domestic pigs held a profound, honored place in Celtic spiritual life. The pig was also an animal that could be let free in the oak forest, and the animals would eat their fill of the millions of felled acorns, fattening them up without any need for growing fodder for them. No grass to cut, dry, and store, no grains, just let them scavenge in the forest and then slaughter them before winter, and then smoke, salt, and cure them for preservation. Early Roman chroniclers recorded that the Celts smoked hams and other parts of the swine, which preserved the meat throughout the winter, along with the beef and salmon. Smoked salmon was often paired with honey. And dried foods, cured and smoked, was how the ancient Celts survived long winters, and it is believed they perfected curing and smoking of meats long before Europeans began doing so. This knowledge was part of a broader, sophisticated approach to agriculture and pastoral life during the Iron Age. And welcome back. I'm excited to have back again on the Magical Alternative our musical guest, Dean Bolt. Give him a hand.
We've had our share of heartbreak. Mills closed, friends moved away. They say it's no place to raise your children. We don't care what they say about our little mill town, sitting on the banks of a stream, watching water wheels go round to spin those spinning thread machines, just like ghosts in old factories. Old mills living in my dreams, just like every old mill town you've ever seen. It's a song about the forks we have in our life, the times when we have a choice of different roads to take, and sometimes we take the road less traveled. It's called My Recurring Dream. First time I saw her, she's walking down the beach, heading straight away from me. The morning mist, when it rolled in, till she was swallowed by the sea. And I thought, should I speed up and chase her down, just to try to get her name? But I just stood still, blinked my eyes, swore I'd never be the same. So it goes in my recurring dream. The harder I stare, the less I seem to see. next time I saw her, she's in Colorado. Mountain silence is a sound. She was flowing down and I was marching up. I just could not turn around. Soon I stood on that mountain peak, staring at a bluebird sky. I wondered then why I could not turn around. I guess I'll never know just why. There've been times in my life I could have turned a different way, but I just moved on, stuck to the script of my play. I guess I never know what I missed on that bluebird day. Must have been my imagination running wild that had got a hold on me. I'm still not sure what I saw. Was that where I was supposed to be? We never know about the paths that we cross. We never know which way to turn. Should we turn right? Should we turn left? How many bridges have we burned? So it goes in my reoccurring dream. The harder I stare, the less I seem to see. So it goes in my recurrent dream. The harder I stare, the less I seem to see. Thanks so much. I think for my next song, I'm going to play a song that talks about meeting up with someone 40 years after you met them, and it's like opening a time capsule. I remember her, the way that we all were. The days were oh so fine. Gentle spirit all the time. And I want to know her name. I'm shy, but I can love her just the same. And I want to hold her hand. But things don't move at my command. Things just don't move at my command. Things that we know now, we didn't know back then. We're bound to grow somehow. I always thought I'd see her once again, and I'd want to know her name. To miss her twice would be a shame. And I want to hold her hand. Things don't move move at my command. Things just don't move at my command. It's a lifetime chasing days. One by one they quickly flow away. We're left standing here on the shore, wondering what we come here for. But the memories, they seem so clear. I close my eyes, I cannot draw them near. And time has blown away, left me with just that summer day when I want to know her name. I'm shy, but I can love her just the same. And I want to hold her hand. Things don't move at my command. Things just don't move at my command. Things just don't move, oh, they just don't move. Things just don't move, oh, they just don't move at my command.
Woo, thank you. That was great.
Thanks very much.
And welcome back. Tonight, our dynamic duo is Dr. Jeremy, founder of Temple of Miriam, the prophetess, and our Orthodox Rabbi, David McLashley. Give him a hand, everybody. Yeah. Thank you very much, both of you, for being here again. I'm so excited.
Well, thank you for having us. Yeah.
How was your Passover? Because we just celebrated that.
My Passover was wonderful because I got a chance to celebrate it with a lot of people from the Temple of Miriam on our Discord. And we had two seders for everybody. We had the seder on the first night and the seder on the last night. And they were two very different Passover seders or rituals, if you want to talk about it that way. The first one we focused on all of the magic of Moses, which of course speaks to Moses 6-7, the 6th and 7th books of Moses, and we talked about that in Sefer Raziel. And then on the last night we got to talk about a lot of different of magic, Lurianic Kabbalah, which changed the holiday of Passover, impacted the holiday of Passover significantly, and not just get a chance to talk about Lurianic Kabbalah and Passover, but we got a chance to celebrate Mamuna, which is a very special holiday filled with magic and ritual and interesting food, which is the topic of our conversation tonight, I think.
That's right. Well, I had started this show talking about Beltane, which is this month, and that is the first of summer. And then we got into the Celtic foods, especially the Celtic foods of Beltane. Now, we've talked before, Rabbi, about the correlation between ancient Judaism and ancient Celtic practices and how many different things are so alike. But this is where I find a big separation, because the Celts, the ancient Celts, their food that was the most sacred was swine. So I'm not
Which
expecting.
is a big no-no for me,
Yeah.
but
I was going to say probably wouldn't be on the Irish.
no one mind, would
Agata
not be on
Seder
my
plate.
Seder plate.
No, not on. But they, I talked about how they gave the champions portion, the biggest part of the pig, the best part to the warriors, but they looked at wild boars as they are ferocious and they're big in the whole being tough and courageous and all that kind of thing. So, but the one question I had about pork that I don't think I've ever heard addressed. Okay, it's not allowed. But following that through, say somebody were to eat it, is there anything written in the Torah or the Talmud, or is there a punishment or a backlash that supposedly would affect that person should they consume it?
Well, the thing is that we have to understand that the dietary laws, the Hilchos Kashrut, which are the dietary laws.
And of
Animal,
the dietary
an
laws.
animal has to both chew its cud and have cloven hooves. Those are the two simanim. Those are the two signs or by which we know an animal is kosher. So the thing is that, if you eat a non-kosher animal, I won't get into punishments because today we don't have the Sanhedrin. We don't have the Beit HaMikdash. Without the Beit HaMikdash, the whole punishment, there are four types of punishment in Judaism. Capital punishment, which is skilos, reifa, herod, v'chemek. No, eating a non-kosher food is not a capital offense, but Kabbalistically, it's what they call matamtem et halev. It creates an impurity for the heart.
Does
Is there
pork
some sort of
translate equally to anything non-kosher, or is it like super non-kosher?
is it no. Once it's not, a pig isn't any more non-kosher than any other non-kosher item. They're all
Oh,
equally not.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, they're just not. Once it's not kosher, it doesn't matter. It's not kosher.
Okay.
And is there anything that you need to do if you accidentally eat a pig? No. In Judaism, I don't think it's meant. The rabbi can speak to this. I don't think that we have a specific ritual that you have to do once you eat pig, other than if you did it on purpose, then at Yom Kippur you need to make atonement for your missing the mark. You're falling short. But it's not like you're not allowed to go to temple, or you're going to be shunned, or you're thrown out of the group, or anything like that. Rabbi, is there any type of ritual that you know of?
No.
Yeah, there you go. That's the answer.
Is that first of all, I want to clarify something. For those who are not Jewish, you can eat all the pork you want, and it's not a sin. You can eat chazer. You can eat chazer day and night. Stuff your face with McDonald's pork McRibs or whatever you want, and it's not even a problem. It's not even an avera. It's not even a sin. I mean, non-Jews do not.
That only applies to
observe
Jews,
the laws of kashrut. Okay, they don't. And it does not affect them at all, spiritually, morally, ethically. It's not that God's saying, well, it would be better if you didn't eat that. No, it's great. It's fine. I mean, quite frankly, this law only applies to people who are Jewish al pi halacha, by Jewish law. That's it. Anybody else can eat all the pork they want. And the consequence.
And in fact, I believe in Genesis, it actually says you may partake of all of the animals that you want, right?
Yeah.
That
So
does say that.
anyway, if it's eines, if it's shoigeg, which is unintended, you have different levels of, if you violate a law, you have different levels in Judaism.
Agreed.
If it's done b'mezid, that means it's done intentionally. If it's done b'shoigeg, that means it's done unintentionally. If it's eines, it's totally accidental. Like, I don't know, I've got my mouth open and a piece of pork flies into it,
Wow.
Someone
That's one
throws a
party.
piece of pork in
That's
my
some
open mouth.
kind of party. Now let me
And I'm
ask.
saying, damn, that's good. But that's what I've been missing out on all this time. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, let me ask you, with some foods, certain Jewish holidays automatically come to mind, like apples and honey.
Yeah, right.
That would
Rosh
be
Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah. Fried foods.
Sure. Hanukkah.
Matzah.
Oh, Passover.
Mm.
Hamantash and Purim.
Hamantash and Purim. That's
We got
perfect.
Shavuot coming up. Blintz's dairy products. We eat
That's-
dairy on Shavuot.
Sweet, because
Mafleta
I
for
am-
Pesach. After Pesach over, I'll let Dr. Jeremy address that one. Mafleta is a certain pancake that they dip in honey and butter
Oh.
for a good for. It's a segula for parnasa and mazel and parnasa tova for a good livelihood and mazal and good luck for the coming year. And
So
do
it's
this
not
after
all
Pesach.
in memory.
They have this pancake called mafleta.
No, no,
'Cause
no.
It seems like so much of it is in memory of, fried foods, Hanukkah, in memory of the destruction of the temple, Matzah, in
Oh.
memory of, running out of Egypt.
Yes, I would say that the
So much
two,
memory in Judaism.
well, they do function in two ways. You're usually in two ways, and you've picked up on one. I think one is that usually you're right. They are based on something from the past, and it's conjuring up an image or memory of the past. Okay, but the other one is usually to ensure a good new following new year, or to ensure good livelihood, or to ensure good health, or things like that. It's not just because it's good for you that we eat fish on the last day of Passover. Okay, that's also protective against the evil eye. So it has twofold. It's two
So that
things.
really is a magical property of using the foods.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I like it. Absolutely.
We talked about the fact in various holidays, most foods are both associated with remembering stuff,
Yes.
and they're also associated with bringing you positivity. Okay?
Yes.
But I know of two foods one that doesn't do anything positive or negative, and then there's another food that is magical that is only negative. The chametz is the negative, and it is a negative magical food. It's trying to get it out of the whole house. We're trying to get it out, and it represents spiritual spiritual nonsense, spiritual aggravation, spiritual, all the stuff that you're trying to get rid of. Tsuris. So, okay, that's what it represents.
And the one that's neither positive or negative, that's not the haroset, because that's sweet.
That's neither positive or negative I'm going to say, is coffee.
Coffee.
Now, coffee is not officially part of the Seder, okay? But the most common Haggadah used in Hebrew English world is the Maxwell. He said it. The Maxwell House Coffee Haggadah,
Really?
and there's over 50 to 60 million copies around in print since its inception in 1932. And what happened was Maxwell House saw Seders, Passover Seders, as an opportunity to serve coffee.
Oh, wow.
And so they created their own Passover Haggadah, and they gave it away for free at the grocery stores and the shopping stores. And it is still to this day the most popular one used. And
That's
in
wonderful.
fact, many of them are collector's items, even though they're still free. The last update, I think, might have been in 2011.
Wow,
So
that's fabulous. I love that. That is great. Oh my goodness. I think that's wonderful.
If I may just elaborate on something about the chametz, the doctor
Yes.
Uh,
said, which is the ikar zach. That's the main thing.
Yes.
That's the ikar nakuda, we say, the main point. In Pesach, to get rid of this chametz, chametz, leavened product, there's 5 types of grains that we can't have that can become chametz. And the 5 grains are wheat, oats, rye, barley, and spelt. Those are the 5 grains mentioned in the Torah Shebechtav, in the written Torah: wheat, oats, rye, barley, and spelt.
Yes.
Those 5 grains can become chametz. Now, what does chametz really represent, as Doctor alluded to? It's the ga'ava, ego, pride. What does yeast do? When bread is leavened, when it's yeast, what does it do? It rises, it gets puffed up, right? It becomes puffed up. So a person who's puffed up, the whole idea on Pesach, we go to crazy measures to get rid of this chametz. What do we do? I mean, we do the mechiras chametz, we sell the chametz, and then we do bigdikas chametz, we search for the chametz, and then we do bittul chametz. Any chametz we miss is considered like negated; it doesn't exist. So we do the mechiras, we sell it, then we search for it, then we negate it, like, oh, if I missed anything, it's like dust of the earth to me; it doesn't exist. And then we do the beer chametz. We burn the chametz.
We burn.
And they have to understand, all during the year, chametz plays a pivotal role in Judaism. We have challahs on Shabbos, right? The challah. And on Purim, we have chumintash. Shavuot, we have blintzes.
Most of the foods that we have associated during the holidays are, of course, positive.
Wonderful.
Here's an example of one that's negative, right?
Yeah.
And then we have one that's an example of one that's neutral. So
Neutral, but then the hametz becomes okay again afterwards, because you can buy it back, or you can get it back. You can bring it back into your house.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, of course. Once Passover's over, then you're good to go again.
Wow. Well, I just find that the people I know, and I know so many people of the Jewish faith, and everyone is different. And the ones that follow really devoutly. I know this one woman I met at the local synagogue who she has, different everything in the kitchen separate, because she keeps kosher, her husband doesn't, and to really extremes. And I find that beautiful.
That reminds me of something hilarious in my own family, because when I was coming up, we were vegetarian. But my mother had everything marked basari and chalavi, which is meat and milk. Which I never understood, because we didn't have any meat. We never had any meat in the house. And my mother said, well, maybe one day you're going to marry someone who's not vegetarian, and you should know, I want to ingrain it. It was part of chinuch.
Really? That's wonderful.
That the idea is, that you have to keep the meat in it. And, they'd blow a gasket if I put the dairy spoon in with the meat thing.
Yeah, that's
why, what's the big deal? Because, it was the purpose of teaching me that, no, you keep it separate.
It's almost like a religious discipline or spiritual discipline.
Yeah.
I think it's lovely.
It's called teruvas chalav basar. Mixing meat and milk is a big no-no in Judaism. And it's taken from a pasuk in the Torah, not to see the kid in its mother's milk. And from that pasuk, on a very mundane level, not on a spiritual, Kabbalistic, metaphysical level, but on a very mundane level, the Torah is filled with these things to teach us respect for animals.
Yes.
Not to see the kid in its mother's milk. Hey, it's kind of, come on. You're going to see a kid in its own mother's milk? I mean, it's the idea of chasing away a mother bird before you take her eggs. The idea of yoking together when you're plowing the field, of yoking together a shore and a chamor, an ox and a donkey. Why? They graze at different paces.
Yeah.
They graze at different rates.
That's
one's trying to stop to grab a snack. The other one's saying, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
They're working against each other. That all relates to Tsar Balei Chaim, causing suffering to a living creature. So the idea is the whole concept is that we're supposed to be rachamim b'nei rachamim, compassionate people. Giving Dr. Jeremy and myself the opportunity, because a lot of things that Jews do to people from the outside, I can understand they look bat guano crazy, because they do. I mean, the thing that says, but once you understand the underlying meaning, the spiritual meaning of the message, you understand. You get an appreciation,
a deeper appreciation,
of how what these things are designed, or that it's not only it's a connection with God, but it's also a means of bringing our neshama, our soul, into alignment with our higher self, our nefesh elokis, it's called in Chassidus, our godly nature. And everyone has a godly nature. You don't have to be Jewish to say to have a
Exactly.
to bring yourself into alignment with your godly nature. It just means that every action you take a step back and say, how does this reflect on me as a person? How does this am I acting in alignment with my higher self?
Right?
And as I alluded to earlier, that's what the seven Noahide laws, the Sheva Mitzvot Noach, are designed to do. And like I said, if you're saying, hey, that's not enough, I mean, hey, the door's open. We're not telling you have to come in, you have to enter it, but it's open.
That's right. That's right. Well, I want to thank you both. This has been wonderful. I'm so excited. And
Just mention one final thing.
oh, yes.
Dr. Jeremy's readings and my readings,
Oh,
what we do.
Dr. Jeremy, what kind of readings do you
thank
do,
you.
Dr. Jeremy?
Aside from the usual tarot readings, my specialty is really doing bibliomancy, which
Oh,
is
love it.
usually a sortilege process in combination with using a book. And the book that I like to use helps me get in contact with the 7 prophetesses of the Bible, and they usually are able to direct me to an answer from the 5 books of Moses, right? The Torah,
The Torah.
that will answer the querent's question. That's the one that I like to do. Now, Rabbi McLashley is an extreme expert in Kabbalistic tarot readings, and I like to defer to his readings. Are fantastic.
Wonderful. Now, can anyone watching get a hold of either one of you to get a reading by contacting you at thetempleofmiriam.com?
Absolutely. Templeofmiriam.com. You just go there. You can select myself or Rabbi McLashley
Wonderful.
and book a reading with either of us.
Excellent. Thank you.
He's a good one.
He's a good one. Excellent. You're both excellent. I know this. Thank you so
We're gonna point at
much.
each other now. Thank you so much, Faye.
Thank you.
Good
All
fun.
right.
Thanks for having us.
All right. And I want to thank Dr. Jeremy Weiss of the Temple of Miriam the Prophetess and Orthodox Rabbi David McLashley. Give him a hand. Please check out our magical and shiny website, enchantmentsct.com, and our new email, enchantmentsct@gmail.com. Is it your dream to be on television, to have your own TV show? So how do you do it? Contact the public access television station in your own town, have a concept, get some friends together, and they will help you make your dream a reality. I want to thank everyone on the crew here at CVC and on the crew of The Magical Alternative for always showing up and always being here. I could not do it without you guys. As the late, great John Lennon said, peace is not something you wish for, it's something you make. Let us keep praying for peace in the Middle East. And for my people in Ukraine, Slava Ukraini, America Vizami. Thank you for watching. Be safe. Have a beautiful rest of your night, and peace.